said this and she said that. Everyone's like, louder, louder. Enough. Let's get deep again. It's me, Nora, and She Said podcast. Yo, She Said.
Welcome, Sumiyah, the therapist.
Thank you.
I really want to start like this so everyone that listens knows exactly what they're getting themselves into.
I hear you.
I welcome you so wholeheartedly. Thank you so much for agreeing to this because today we're going to unpack some deep psychological knowledge.
Thank you for having me.
Tell us a little bit about yourself because I know you obviously, but I just want, everyone to be on the same line.
Yeah, so I am a mental health therapist and I'm also a nurse actually by background, again, specialising in mental health. Anything mental health related, really, I am your girl.
And from the UK because your accent. What's accenting?
I'm from Scotland. Beautiful city called Edinburgh.
Edinburgh. I remember when they asked us in school how to pronounce this one.
Oh, really? Edinburgh, maybe, did you say?
But welcome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I want to dive directly into everything that you experienced because we sat together before. And one interesting point that you told me about is how you actually got into this whole mindset and therapist area, the whole addiction topic. Can you tell me, how did it start? What was this one moment where you were like, oh, I think this is where I want to go and this is what I want to do?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because when I was younger, I had a part-time job whilst I was studying and I was working alongside people that take substances. Addiction covers a range of things, but this was mainly sort of illegal substances. And
the hardcore side.
The hardcore side that is not necessarily allowed in most cities. And I just was coming across sort of normal people that had severe addiction difficulties.
Was there someone, let's say, in your inner circle that inspired you for this journey? Or was it really it just started with a job and then it turned out to interest you that much?
Yeah, it literally, there's no groundbreaking story. It's very much, I started this part-time job and I just felt so interested and in love with mental health. Nobody in my inner circle necessarily inspired me. I just sort of was not quite sure what I wanted to do and what I wanted to study. And I just was winging it like most young people. At that point, I was 15 years old.
Oh, yeah, that's so young.
First job.
Oh, but that's a hardcore job you took over then.
Thanks, Mom and Dad.
They were like, our daughter needs to learn the real life.
You need to earn your own money.
Yes, great. But actually, I mean, there was a lot, I think, to take in because you immediately saw the kind of worst and most helpless side that there is out there. Because I honestly never had real touch points with this because I grew up in a village that was close to the Dutch border. I'm talking 2 minutes far from the Dutch border. So it was only when I left for Munich, a bit bigger city that was 8 hours for back in the days, and sort of grew up and got a job that I understood that my whole childhood, everyone around me was addictive.
Yeah.
They were addicted to weed and all of that.
Yeah.
But I never noticed.
Yeah.
So I felt were they having this double life or was I closing myself off of all these topics because obviously I was a very nerdy person.
Yeah.
So do you think that way more people in the society that fight with all this addiction topics that you wouldn't necessarily not know? Or is it quite obvious, especially with let's say illegal substances?
I think it's interesting because it sounds like you're maybe sheltered a bit more. And I think that, again, depends on your environment. So I'm from a city. Any major city, you will find that there is huge, huge addiction problems. So London, New York, it's wild. It doesn't matter who you are either. You could be affluent, you could have a lot of money and you could come from a poverty area. Yeah. It doesn't matter. The addiction is in both sides. So even when I was working with clients, it's very much, I was working with, people who are high status, CEOs, And I was also working with people who came from a deprived background, no access to healthcare, really, no money, and that they were just trying to get by and deal with their day-to-day life through escape, which was drug use.
Yeah. And is it really how I always imagine it is like if you're, whether you're a CEO or you're really coming from, let's say, a lower income background, it kind of almost starts as like a double life, but after a while, it's like a vicious cycle and it almost takes you in completely. Like I've never seen a case, maybe this is just because of the movies, where it at some point it doesn't take over your whole life.
Honestly, it depends.
Okay.
So when I was working in a major city, before moving to Dubai, I was working with a lot of people that worked in banking. So like a corporate job, long hours, it can be a bit of a toxic culture sometimes, but the way to get through it was some stimulants, that just helped them to give the energy to focus, to be able to put in 16, 17-hour days.
Yeah. How was, if I can ask you, how was the percentage from like men to women?
I'd say primarily at that time, it was probably about 60% men. Yeah. And again, or maybe about 70% actually, because it's that classic men need to be providers. They need to be earning money.
That's so interesting. Because, is it possible, like that's a theory, a wild theory, okay? But is it possible? I feel women are a little bit more knowledgeable when it comes to mental health. And like at least we would have more ways of taking it out. Let it even just be talking to your best friend or something. Like, do you think that the percentage of men was higher because men don't have more ways to work on their mental health, because it's usually like a man should not think about their emotion. They hide their emotions. It's pretty much like being emotional or vulnerable is signs of weakness. So they have no other escape than like going into external stimulants because there is no ventile to take care of their emotions in another way. Would you say that? Yeah? Okay.
That's literally it. And women are generally, and people think this is a stereotype, but this is factual.
Okay.
That women are generally more in tune with their emotional side. Our brains allow us to multitask, so we can be a parent and we can be a businesswoman and we can be a friend. We can do multiple things without even thinking about it. Like, it just naturally comes to us more than men. And again, when it comes to choosing coping mechanisms, usually women will think things through a little bit more.
Yeah.
That's not to say women don't use substances, because that's
for sure.
not true.
No, yeah.
But the general gist of what you've just said is true, yeah.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
And if you would because I know nowadays, especially with everything that we see online and social media happening, I feel there is a higher pressure on women nowadays, even though we are more in sync with our feminine side and with, let's say, mindset and all the topics, that you see online. It's kind of still hard to put them into practice for you to be balanced and to be able to be okay with all the multitasking. Because I don't know, I feel that is kind of the biggest struggle nowadays, to feel a balance with what you see and what you're actually doing.
Yeah.
What is your experience in that?
Life is difficult now. It's challenging. It's very different to other generations. We're more addicted to social media, to electronics.
That is classified an addiction, yeah?
It is.
Really? And is there an hour where okay, if you put this in this hour, or that behavior is when you have a social media addiction or a phone addiction?
I mean, generally it would be if you're watching like TV, for example, if you're watching Netflix and you're still scrolling on your phone.
Oh, guilty.
There'll be a few things that you're like, okay, we need to have a session.
Really? What else would that be? Tell me.
So that technically means that you're not able to focus on one thing and that you are addicted because you're scrolling on your phone alongside watching a movie. If you're unable to just go even a period of 30 minutes without looking at your phone, scrolling, responding to an email, generally that just becomes a bit of an issue. If you're waking up first thing in the morning, going on your phone, that's usually the big telltale sign. So can you wake up and not be on your phone for the first hour?
Yeah, this is something I introduced literally since I gave birth to Summer Rose, to my daughter, because I noticed this behavior on me. I woke up and the first thing I did was checking my phone. So in general, I do think that she is the only reason that is holding me back for probably 8-9 hours screen time, even though my work is on the phone.
Yeah.
But because she sees me usually a lot with the phone, I try to hide it away or not take it or plan time specifically with the phone, because I do consider myself addictive.
I mean, like, we're only human, and everybody's in the same boat, and you can only do what you can do, but it's difficult as well with your whole life and your work being online. So it's challenging. And it sounds like you're putting in great steps to just spend more time being present. But it's hard. It's hard.
What about an average woman that, you know, sees all these things online? Like, in general, maybe this should be an open question. When people come to you, what is the percentage? How likely are men to seek therapy? Because I always think that it's less. I don't know, but that's like my general perception.
Yeah.
And versus women. And then what are the common topics that women would come to you to seek help?
So I'd say that you're right, that that theory of men not seeking support as much as women, it's true. So I do have male clients, but a lot less. 90% are women.
And when male clients come, I find this so interesting.
Yeah.
Is it out of own motivation, or is it because, let's say, a woman would tell them, you need to go to therapy?
So all the men that I have seen in my practice have all been willing to accept some sort of support. Yeah. They've not usually been forced by their wives or
no. That was just I'm just interested if
maybe encouraged.
Yeah,
but it's not like, oh, my wife's told me to be here, I need to be, and I'm like, oh, okay, well,
welcome.
Welcome. Yeah, this is not as scary as you think.
Yeah.
But it always helps when you're a bit more open and a bit more willing. You know, at the end of the day, like, therapy really should be viewed as important as going to the gym or, you know,
you train your body, you should train your brain.
Absolutely. They interlink. And I understand that there's such a stigma around that and around, I think it's the word therapy, you know. And
you think so? Yeah, I don't know. I love it. I love it. I'm with my therapist in 6 years. Like, but I also do think one of the biggest struggles is you cannot find your therapist. Yeah. Like nowadays, if you get any recommendations and you call, they literally give you an appointment for next year. Yeah. Because they're like so overbooked. Yeah. And it's so hard to find yours. Like, I had a friend, she wanted to look for a therapist, and then she got one and she went for her first session and she was shattered because she was like, no, that's not for me. And I'm like, no, that doesn't mean therapy in general is not for you. Yeah. It takes some time to see multiple therapists to find like that one. Like, I'm sure if I found you first, I would be definitely your client.
Honestly, you have to try before you buy.
Yeah.
You have to. I even encourage, when I have initial consultations with clients, please don't go with me. I don't want you to. I need you to shop around. You need to find the right therapist for you. And you'll know that. You'll know within yourself.
Yeah,
like,
if there is a vibe.
Yeah. I mean, there's nothing worse than being vulnerable and sensitive with someone that you just don't have a relationship with.
Yes.
Or you don't have anything in common with, or you can't relate to them. There's nothing worse. So there's never that, well, there shouldn't be any heavy commitment from the get-go. You need to, it's trial and error. Like anything, you know.
I wish one day someone just invents this website where you can just click through like a let's say 15-minute trial session. Yeah. You know, where you're just gonna be like, oh, I want to try her. Oh, I want to try her, and then you can end up with them in real life, and they're not on the other end of the world. Yeah. You know, that would be so cool.
Yeah, like speed dating for therapists.
Speed dating for therapists. Yeah, that would make it so much more accessible.
Yeah, definitely.
And would just kind of embed it into our daily life, because I still feel that people go when it's way too late. Like, coming back to that topic, actually, what would women come for then? Like, what's the major topics that nowadays society fights for, at least the feminine side?
Yeah, it ranges. Anything between anxiety, grief, and trauma. They tend to be the three sort of major topics. They always minimize their issues, and it'll be like, oh, I've had trauma, but it was like 20 years ago, so really shouldn't matter now. And I'm like, interesting because it doesn't matter. If it was 20 minutes ago or 20 years ago, trauma is stored inside the body.
But you know what's also interesting? That they would even come to you and say, I have trauma. Because I feel, I don't know, the word trauma was misused. Everyone was suddenly talking, I have trauma and trauma. Can you like tell me a bit, what is considered a trauma? Because I do know that even smaller things would be considered a trauma that don't have to be, let's say, abuse or something. What is it? What is really the term like of trauma, and when would I go and be like, oh, that might be something that I should worry about?
Yeah, I mean, trauma is it's a broad term. It's it's an umbrella term, and yes, like there can be categories in there like abuse. It doesn't need to be physical. It could be emotional or financial abuse. It could be bullying at school. It could be abandonment from a parent, a really horrendous breakup. If you go through your life, your adult life, generally if this happens in your childhood, for example, and you go through your adult life and there's still the same patterns and behaviours that you experience that take you back to that time, that's trauma. You still relate it to something that happened ages ago and you get the same sensations or the same anxiety or discomfort or toxic behaviours. But it's a pattern. Yeah. So to break the pattern, that's where usually therapy is useful.
Understood. And so we talked about anxiety, grief, and trauma being the ones. When it comes, because I feel, especially living in the Middle East, shockingly, the majority of people that I know take medications for their anxieties. And I really was shocked by how easy it is, like how easily accessible medication is here. Because I don't know this growing up in Germany. Nobody would give you an antidepressant until there are like suicidal thoughts already on the table or like serious attempts. They would always go for a, let's say, more self-help and therapy approach rather than this. And I wonder, like, what is your opinion to that? And is this really the first help, or is this really like, I don't know, can this turn into an addiction? Does it maybe cause even a deeper trauma or deeper anxiety?
Really good question, because like I said, we're in the Middle East and healthcare is different. It's different everywhere, every major, country you go to. In the UK, typically, first line treatment is not always medication. It depends again what you present with, but let's take anxiety. Anxiety is your body's alarm system. So if you're putting medication on top of that to help with anxious symptoms, you're not actually getting rid of the problem. It's a physiological problem that you need to be able to recognize, process, and manage. Medication, I mean, look, I'm a nurse. I also have a pharmacy background, so I'm very well clued up on medication, and I've been in this industry for over a decade, so I see the benefits of medication. But you have to understand: are you masking the symptoms? Are you looking for convenience? Are you looking to numb the pain that you're experiencing? Usually it's due to lack of education, to be honest.
Yes, that's what I feel.
Yeah, lack of education, lack of awareness.
I feel honestly, when I was talking to the people that I know, it was, it really went to an extent, I don't know how I can explain it to you, but I felt like I'm in the wrong. As if I am the critical viewer and I'm like seeing things too seriously, because it was literally like, oh yeah, I just did it. And then everything was better. Like, I don't know why this wouldn't be public and why not everyone is doing it. And I felt the urge to ask, but that's very convenient. Like, you shouldn't pop a pill to feel better. Like, there is a better, and like, it's not necessarily an easier way, but definitely a more sustainable way. And even though like there are different, like, let's say, levels of anxiety, I'm sure. But what would be a level, like, maybe you can help me describe like a situation where then it would make sense, but others definitely not. I just want people that listen to this and that maybe fight with anxiety to kind of have the conscious that it should not be this easy. Like, I don't know how to say that, but that's kind of the point where I stand. I'm like, Like that's too easy, and easy is not always better. Or what do you think, please, because you're the professional?
Yeah, I mean, I think medication has its role, 100%. I totally agree. But with anxiety, a lot of people experience low mood. So that's where you would typically get medication for. So say, for example, I'm really anxious 5 times out of the week. It's causing me to be in this overthinking cycle, but it's causing me then to be low in mood or depressed because I can't go out with my friends or I can't function.
Yeah.
That's usually where you would get medication. Now, again, you need to look at, well, why are you anxious? So you have to have that awareness to be like, okay, I'm anxious because of X, Y, Z.
Yes.
You know?
Is it possible maybe to take the medication and like work on the problem? Why, you know what I mean? Absolutely. Or is it just like you go either way?
No, usually you'll find, and the research 100% backs this, the research always suggests, alongside pharmaceutical interventions, so medications, you need to have some sort of psychological support. They go hand in hand.
Yes.
So if you come to me and you're depressed, okay, you might need an antidepressant, or you're already on it, but that's not going to resolve the issue. This is not a temporary relief, but it's maybe helping with the chemical imbalance in the brain.
Yeah. Oh, especially us women, hormonal wise, it helps. Okay, good. I understand you. Yeah.
But also let's talk about what are some practical things you can do when you're feeling depressed. So anxiety is the body's alarm system. So if you imagine a fire alarm going off, fire alarm, the purpose of a fire alarm is to alert you that there's danger, there's fire somewhere. But you could also put in a piece of bread in the toaster and the fire alarm can go off.
Yes.
The purpose is, and the difference is that there's still danger, but when you know what's caused the danger, so for example, you've burnt the toast, then it's actually, you can manage it better.
Yeah.
So you take out the bread, you make some new toast, or you eat it burnt, but you know what's caused the fire alarm to go off. So when you're anxious, your alarm system's going off. Anxiety is not the problem. Can I also just stress that anxiety is normal?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it's normal. We all have anxiety. It's a normal stress response.
Yes, I'm guilty of that too. But I like it, to be honest. It gives me sort of like, I like the sensation because it just gives me like, I like to have this like, you're more self-aware and it helps you to listen a bit more to your body, like if it gives you signals.
Yeah, and when you're like under pressure, or you're maybe going for a job interview, or you have exams, we start to feel a bit nervous, and that is anxiety, but it's normal. And actually, we perform better because the adrenaline has kicked in.
That's what I feel.
So we actually need it. It's always, always, always about recognizing, processing, and managing. So these are the steps in order to. So if you know you're anxious, then that's I'm anxious because I'm stressed, or I'm anxious because I've not, made any money for the last 2 months. I'm anxious because if you understand why, then you can manage it.
Yes.
When it becomes a bit of an issue is when you don't know why you're anxious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I do, yes, I understand. Or maybe if it's like you feel overwhelmed because it's coming from too many different topics at once and you don't know how to prioritize.
Yeah.
There is this amazing practice that I did with my therapist back then, because when I moved to Dubai, I started to have panic attacks.
Okay.
And I've never dealt with panic attacks before in my life. And they started to really become like physical. Like I really couldn't breathe. I thought I'm going to die. I'm scratching myself, rolling, and like really crying my heart out. And it was really, really bad. And nobody was with me because I was living alone in my apartment, which didn't make it better.
Yeah.
And I couldn't really talk about this. Also because I didn't know what's happening, So, and everyone is telling you like to breathe and come down, but you can't, because you literally think you are dying.
Yeah.
And so I obviously talked with my therapist about it, because it came suddenly. Like for me, it was very surprising, because I'm such a self-aware person and I'm already in therapy from so long that when this happened, I was like, oh my God, like, did I not do it right? Am I having therapy sessions for nothing?
Yeah.
But what happened with me was there were several topics, like let's say the fire alarm went off because the toast was on fire, my shoes were burning, and the ceiling fell down, and I didn't know where to kind of help first. And so what he told me that I until today do, and I really tell all my friends, is to do this prevent and repair list, where I name all my anxieties. And it's as funny as I'm having my first podcast session. Like, till, oh my God, I don't know how to help my family financially with the next school fees or something. And I would just write them all under each other. And then next to it, for each of the points, I would write, if this case comes to reality, how can I repair the damage?
Absolutely.
And next to that, how can I even prevent from this to become my reality? And that helped me so much. When you were saying like recognizing and that I really felt like now I'm managing it.
Yes.
And that's like, is there maybe another practice that you do that would help in that type of way,
Yeah. So one regular one, that's a really good one actually, because what you're doing by writing down the difference is you're putting out those thoughts from your brain onto paper.
So I kind of remove it from my body.
Yes.
Okay, gotcha.
So sometimes you have all these thoughts that are like going around, and they're not going anywhere. You don't know what to do with them. So that's why talking therapy is super powerful, because you're talking about it, you're getting it out. Very similar to writing things down. You're removing thoughts from inside your brain out onto paper, and then you can physically say, okay, can this wait? Can I prioritize? What do I need to do? And I really encourage that kind of practice. I call it brain dumping.
Nice, yeah.
Dump all. And it's really good before you go to bed.
Yeah.
Especially if you're somebody who overthinks a lot and you struggle to sleep, because sleep is key in all aspects of life.
I know your longevity and wellness background, so you need to tell us a little bit about that too.
Yeah.
Especially when you mention sleep now. I know I went on edge when I didn't have sleep with my daughter. Like, that's when everything broke down.
Yeah, it can drive you into psychosis if you're sleep deprived. And it's key. But it's interesting. I practice a lot of this with my clients. If you're struggling, with sleeping and overthinking and you're just ruminating, put the thoughts out into paper. It doesn't need to be neat or grammatically correct. Just shove them onto paper. And then you can scrunch up the paper, you can light it on fire, you can rip it up, put it in the bin, do what you want with it, but it's out. And that just helps you to just reset a little bit before, actually going to sleep. Another thing that I think is really useful in clients who experience sort of anxiety is the 90-second pause. So if you think about water boiling, for example, it bubbles, and the emotions are, emotions only last. The research suggests emotions only peak at 90 seconds. Okay. 90 seconds is only, a minute and a half? It's not a long time.
But it could feel like an eternity.
It can feel like 90 years. Yeah. But realistically, say, for example, you're in work and you're having a very difficult conversation with a client or with a colleague, and you can feel yourself getting triggered and you feel like you're about to react or fly off the handle. If you just take a minute to pause, again, you only need 90 seconds, then you can actually respond as opposed to reaction, which could save so much damage in your...
That's so powerful.
Yeah, in your relationships. It could save a lot of issues.
I love that.
Yeah. So
because sometimes I see that, especially very normal interaction with my husband, for instance, when I try to calm myself down, it goes way better and smoother for anything that I would want to say than if I would just react to every word, because that would be on fire.
Yeah, and look, we're only human. Sometimes, it is challenging, but this is what therapy will help you to regulate, is your emotions, because sometimes it's like when you react straight away, your brain's like trying to then catch up and be like, oh God, what have I done? What have I said? And then you might have that regret. And
oversharing. Oh my God. One of my...
Oh yeah. Yeah. Women tend to do that. Yeah. It's a good skill.
One of my go-to stuff.
But if you think about, a pan of water boiling, it bubbles. And then eventually when you remove it, it calms back down, and it's very similar to your emotions.
Nice metaphor. I'll have that in mind.
You know, and it could literally be as simple as just taking 90 seconds, whether you do some deep breathing in that time, whether you just step away, whether you go outside, just for 90 seconds. That's enough to be able to just calm everything down before responding.
And is there, you know, because I know there are, like, it's the way we feel. I feel sometimes, and people underestimate how our feelings, it's not real feeling, it's the sensations that we feel, how they are connected to our body and like hormones and all of that, that I feel we need a little bit more knowledge. I don't know how you feel, but I would love to have a little bit more knowledge about like let's say, what food can I eat? What movements can I make to literally feel better?
Yeah.
You know, is there something out there that you would also recommend clients, you know, just to kind of self-help?
Yeah, so naturally, like natural antidepressants, so things like the sun. And I know not everybody, especially from where I'm from, we do not get the sunshine ever. I hated winter in the UK, and it honestly...
That's literally the reason why I moved to Dubai, by the way.
Also the reason.
German winters.
Sorry to everyone that lives elsewhere.
Sorry, we love you. Hang in there.
But it really impacts a lot of your mood. So, you know, if you can access some sort of natural sunlight, movement. Now, you don't need to be going to the gym if that's not for you, but movement means stretching, walking. Again, when we're stressed, for example, we hold tension in our muscles. So we need to release it. And that's through movement, because we're walking or we're stretching or we're doing Pilates. So it really, really helps. And who goes to the gym or does a workout and feels like crap after? Usually you generally feel good.
Yeah, you do. I'm part of this community that feels bad after gym. I don't know how to tell you. Okay. I always feel like so exhausted in a negative way that I just want to sleep.
Okay.
You know, but that might be because I do have a lot of other conditions like my thyroid and that kind of prevent me from being normal.
Fatigued. Yeah.
Very, very fatigued. And my husband with his, like, he is unapologetic. He goes every day to the gym.
Yeah.
Like, it shows. And he's like, why can't you? You'd feel better. And I'm like, the problem is it does not make me feel better. However, I do see that in my life, like I'm a very, like, I move a lot.
Yes.
I move a lot. I go, I cook. I take my baby out every day, even without having my daughter. Before, I used to literally take my laptop and work from a cafe just to be somewhere else.
Yeah.
So I felt like this always helped me, like, you know, switch up environment a little bit. Like I used to work, for instance, my first apartment, the office, it wasn't really an office. It was literally like a closet, you know. Yeah. It was very dark, very depressive. And I felt like I was so uninspired that I literally couldn't work. So I took it to the beach and I felt already better. I mean, that's something that you can literally only do in Dubai.
And do it literally. But it's interesting. And the key really is there that you need to do something you enjoy.
Yes.
And, you know, it could be that you don't enjoy what you're doing at the gym.
That's honestly such a good topic, by the way, because I remember I told you once that I also had this extreme burnout in my career. Yeah. Actually, in the peak of my career when I was working in corporate. And when I went to the doctor and the therapist, everyone was telling me, you need to do what you like. What you love. Do what you love. What do you love? Shopping, go on vacation. Yeah. But Sumiyah, when I tell you, it was pressuring me even more because I got my burnout from the job, but the job is all I loved.
Yeah, okay.
So that was so hard for me to tell you what I love because I love working. I cannot, I really, up to date, I really love working and following my purpose and sharing messages. Yeah. And so it was, whenever I used to tell them that, they were like, no, that doesn't count. You misunderstand it. But what do you have these cases nowadays that women kind of see their fulfillment or their happiness so much more connected to career than it used to be?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, all the women I see are like high functioning, like they're really capable women, incredible women. But sometimes they just feel a bit tired about carrying everything alone. And that's why they seek some form of support. And again, it helps when you don't know that person, you know, and it's your free will to have that space for you only, because it's very, very rare that we sit back and think about things and reflect and we sit in silence. It's very rare that we do that.
But that's hard, right?
Very hard.
Isn't it something is like a skill you need to learn to sit in silence?
Yeah. I imagine
without
you don't.
taking your phone. No, I do.
Oh, do you?
And now
Okay.
I like just after when I got my baby, I felt so insecure
Okay.
that I felt like I need to start working directly.
Okay.
And so I didn't listen to myself. And then I felt like, oh, I'm not by myself at all. First of all, I'm always surrounded by my kid.
Yeah.
And I don't reflect on what is actually happening.
Yeah.
But I felt it was very hard for me in the beginning because the initial thing I would do is take my phone and open notes. But then again, you're not really alone.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and then because you find yourself after 2 minutes scrolling.
Yeah.
So having this like time completely alone, free from everything is easier than it actually sounds, I feel.
Yeah. I mean, I think nobody likes to, when you self-reflect, nobody really likes to put themselves in vulnerable situations where they think about their past or their failures or, you know, and that's why a lot of people struggle doing that themselves. Whereas when you come to therapy, it's almost kind of forced you to be open and vulnerable in a safe space. Because nobody wants to purposefully like cry and, you know, they've made themselves cry over the dwelling on their life, things that they can't change. But also life is difficult. It doesn't matter who you are. Like every single person suffers in some way or another.
Yeah.
The difficulty with mental health is that you can't always see it.
Yeah.
So it's invisible. You know, like if you broke your leg, I would give you a bit more compassion because I can physically see you're struggling.
Yeah.
You've got a cast on or you've got crutches. You know, I'll be a bit more compassionate. But if I don't know that you've got depression because you're functioning okay, I might, you know.
I do feel that this is a wildly spread disease across content creators, for instance, because when we look online, like it's almost like this saying that the saddest people are the comedians because they make the others laugh, you know?
Yeah.
So I feel like for content creators, it kind of is almost the same.
Yeah.
Obviously, it depends on the people, but because you're so focused on sharing your life in the most positive way because you want to make people happy and motivate them and pretend that everything is all right, that they would almost be the saddest from themselves and like all struggle with mental health issues. And especially because you still put yourself out there, but then you get hate comments or, you know, it makes it even harder for you to be okay.
Absolutely.
You know? And I feel that it's, I don't know, it's almost forgotten for the people that are online.
Yeah.
Because as a normal consumer, you would just think like, oh, she has such a gorgeous life. And whenever I hear this, you know, it makes me so angry.
Yeah.
Really, because, and that's why on my channel, literally like in the last 1 or 2 years, I share so many negative stuff that is happening.
Yeah.
However, you need to see how, because whenever you do this, I like in a certain way, people would almost say like, oh, look at you complaining.
Yeah.
But living the perfect life and sitting in a nice villa or whatever. Whilst like when you're still happy and you're just telling them, hey, I'm currently struggling, but I'm gonna be okay. It's more like, oh, power woman and whatever. And it's really hard because I am sometimes lost in the social media space because I'm really concerned about what am I putting out there. I don't want people to look at my content and say, wow, she lives such a perfect life and be feeling bad about themselves just because they don't know what's going on in my private life. I don't want people to look at me and be like, oh, she can handle everything. Why am I sad?
Yeah.
And I just don't know how I know you're so big in spreading the message and like raising awareness for mental health. What would you recommend me to do? Like maybe there's something that I could change to just be a little bit more mindful with what I put out there as a content creator. Because I would like to have this, you know, third party view on what I do.
I think that's such a great point because like I said, most people, like the average person will only post the positives and the greatness of their life on social media.
Obviously.
It's quite rare that you'll come across somebody who is depressed. And even that, if they do, they get stick for it because it's like, but you're still recording yourself being depressed, you know?
Yeah, you record yourself crying. Yeah, I do. Normal people do too. I know, like, it's not just me.
Yeah, exactly. And, you know, I think what's so challenging now is because, yes, you'll get hate comments. We can't control that. And that's what's difficult, is that you can't control other people's reactions. Usually the people that are given hate comments, they're very unhappy themselves. They're just projecting.
Yeah.
It's subconsciously, I wish I had that life. I wish I had that house. I wish I had this.
Can you please say that louder for everyone that is scared to start on social media because they're fearing these hate comments are actually tackling them personally? Because I always say that. It's not them. But, you know, it's a part of you that's, you know.
Yeah.
I always say you load the trigger yourself. Like, you load the gun yourself, because if they would point out something that I'm actually deep inside insecure about, it would really hurt me.
I know, exactly.
Yeah.
It's such a challenging time now, like being online. It really, really is. Honestly, one thing I would say about that is, again, you can't control other people's reactions, but if you've got the skills and the tools to manage yourself when you are struggling in terms of seeing these comments, or struggling with your mood, struggling with anxiety or relationship breakdown, if people already have the tools and the skill set to manage it, then these hate comments, at least they'll have something in place that it won't feel as heavy. It's almost like, why ask for a life jacket when you're already drowning? You know, just if you work on this, everybody's got the tools and the skills. We just need to tweak them, fine tune them. And it's not until you're in certain situations that you need to use them. You know, some people are very lucky enough to go throughout life and not really have a lot of difficulties. And then, for example, their pet dies or their relationship breaks down, and then they're like, oh, I don't know how to manage this. And it's not until you're in that situation where you're like, oh,
obviously, you don't prepare yourself until it's already too late.
Exactly. And it's interesting. I've had a few clients recently who are, all my clients are really incredible women. And naturally there's insecurities and there's comparison. And I had this one woman who, she goes to the gym regularly, but she's always comparing herself to all the other women in the gym. And, you know, I said, well, these women might look at you and say, I wish I looked like her. Or, you know, somebody might be going through a breakup and might need to go to the gym to make themselves feel better. Somebody might be somebody's first time in the gym. It might be somebody's escape. Everybody's in the gym for a different reason, for example, that specific scenario. And, you know, the more time you spend comparing yourself to people that you don't know, the more brain power it takes, and you'll be exhausted.
Yeah.
You know?
Physically,
mentally.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. That I always follow this motto in my life, stop thinking, start acting.
Yeah,
because I'm a woman, I'm guilty of overthinking, obviously, like everyone else, but I always notice that once I am spiraling, the result is I still didn't get anything done. Like, I still didn't change. I still didn't went more time, like for this woman, for instance, I still didn't go more to the gym or change my gym routine or something to make a difference. It's almost like this theory of insanity by Einstein that's like, you can't repeatedly do things the same way and expect a different outcome.
Absolutely.
And so I always try to really just stop. Like a paranoid sometimes I talk to myself and I say, stop it.
Yeah.
And then what can I do? What's the action? I feel the majority of mental health issues nowadays could already be minimized. I'm not diminished, because like a lot of things, like trauma is a different story, but could already be changed so much more if people would act more rather than think. Because the second you try, you are already in a different step. You already moved. You know what I mean? You're already not in the same spot as you were before.
Awareness first before anything else.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I would really like to play this game with you.
Okay.
I'll quickly explain. Oh, where did I put it? Here.
Okay.
I'll quickly explain this to you. This is our She Said game.
All right.
It's kind of like a this or that game.
Okay.
And I want you to just answer quickly.
Okay.
But if there is a topic that's at your heart and you feel passionate about, and you want to say something about it, please feel free to do that.
Okay.
Okay? I'm just gonna, mix them a little bit. And then please pick. Whoops, I'm trying to hand them to you. Does that work? Here. Pick 5.
Okay.
And then give them to me. I'm gonna ask you. You want to take the top 5? Okay.
Oh yeah. Go for it.
Let's do that. Ooh. Ooh. Be liked or be honest?
Be honest.
Safe choice or scary choice?
Scary choice.
Comfort or chemistry?
Chemistry.
Be needed or be chosen?
Be chosen.
Blend in or stay out?
Oh, I think probably blend in.
Interesting. Why is that?
Personally, I'm quite a low-key
You're the low-key person.
Yeah.
I love that about you.
So you don't need to stand out all the time to make yourself known. You can still blend into the crowd and observe rather than,
Yeah.
A lot of people that know me listening to this might not agree with that one.
Really? No, honestly, you give off this vibe for me. I genuinely love that about you. You feel like it's such a low key. I have everything together, even though you might not. By the way, I don't want to diminish any feelings that you have, on a personal level. But I really do feel you give off this calm, collected vibe.
Thank you.
That I really love about you. I do feel that you are a great therapist, I have to tell you, because this is what I would want, Yeah. You kind of like, when you look for a therapist, you kind of want to go to somebody that already projects where you want to go.
Yeah.
And that's, by the way, something I really don't understand why, the majority of therapists that I know, especially in here or Germany or wherever, are the complete opposite. They really look like all over the place, chaotic, white men, unmarried, a little bit of a belly. And you're just like, what are you going to tell me about how to live my life? Yeah. That's really interesting.
It is. I have a lot of clients say to me, I'm really glad you're not 60, 70 years old. And
that's wow.
Oh, interesting. Yeah,
I love that about you.
A bit more relatable. And I'm like,
you're very relatable.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, good. I'm glad.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
I also find this very interesting that you don't just have this therapist background, but also the nurse background. Because I know in the UK, and the same thing is in Germany as well, nurses run the business. Nurses are the ones that, exactly. So I do think that it's so interesting that you have the knowledge from this field, the really medical science-based field, and you combine this with the whole mental space. And that makes totally sense because I know about you that you also love wellness and longevity and sustainability. So
but I also love going out and having a good time.
Yeah, exactly. That's the good mix. The balance.
You need the balance. You
Absolutely.
need to have fun as well. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Sumaya. It was a pleasure having you here. Before we wrap this up, I always like to end the episodes with a banger sentence, something like she said, and I would really like you to either say something from yourself, from your heart, or maybe even something that a woman in your life told you that still stayed with you. So you can start it with she said, and if you want to just look into this camera.
She said, sometimes in life we think things are happening to us, but they're actually happening for us.
Wow. Oh my goodness.
Okay, thanks.
That was pretty
good. I am sweating under here.
That was amazing. Thank you so much. Oh God, yeah. Guys, just let that sink in for a moment. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure.
Me too.
To have you on here.
Having me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's a wrap. Hi! Are you having fun? I hope so, because honestly, we put our heart and soul into this. I love what I'm doing here, and I hope that you appreciate all the new ideas and perspectives that stay with you. And in order for us to stay with you and keep on getting better, I just have one favor to ask. Just hit the subscribe button and share it with your friends, and I promise you, in exchange, I will make sure that you will keep on getting amazing input in here.